Daya karo Sri Acharya Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Louder, louder, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Louder, louder. Krishna can hear, yeah? Hare Krishna. Yes, Krishna wants that we are here. आपके हाथ ऊपर कीजिए. Raise your hands. Everybody. When you raise your hand, that's when you are full surrender. When you see in the movies, somebody put gun pointed on you and say hands up. Hands up means you are all surrender. So that's called Sri Krishna also have that. So say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Sing loudly with love for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की श्रील प्रपाद की प्रेमानंद. Now it's your turn.
All right, yes sir. Yes sir.
Show must go on.
Show must go on. Okay, so I'll do some kirtan for a little bit and then talk a little bit, is that okay?
You want to do it?
And then Gorati at what time?
Go at 7 o'clock? 6 o'clock, 6:30. 6:30.
After lecture, they increase.
So, I can do that. So Gorango will do a kirtan.
Continue.
Sing loudly. That you can get benefit.
How should we do this then? Oh, you're going to put it on there? Okay, I think like that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm going to try to be controlling, move people around a little bit.
You can fill in the space over there.
Think about the mantra there, everyone knows.
Might need a bigger
Yeah.
mic stand, but
Hi, good show, everyone.
yeah, bigger mic stand. Change the mic stand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, my water?
Yeah.
Thank you. We're here from Wales. Some of us are. Cheers. Ruth, your best. Yeah. Can you say something?
You have my blessing. Just start fast.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well,
But they cannot go out when it's raining.
yeah. Lock the door. It's free to get in. We have to pay to get out. So welcome, guys. I'm sending you guys in thank you, right? We was your first program today. Your first time? Second time? Yeah, I thought so. Your first time, huh? And you three were here Friday? Yeah, so. So we'll try and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna. This way of time. So if it's okay with everyone, we'll chant some. Just a prayer before we begin speaking. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We'll just talk a little something before we do more kirtan and bhajan. I think, so it's 20 to 5 now. When would you remember the schedule? That man who told us?
Yeah.
Go on.
So class from now at 6,
6.
and then Kirtan, and then 6:30 is Prashad, and that's what it says on the WhatsApp.
Alright, so I'll finish before 6. We'll do some more kirtan before we get to Korati. So, Hare Krishna. I was thinking of just, as we've been in Dublin the last week, what's been really nice is meeting so many people, because we get to introduce spiritual life to anyone who wants to receive it. And I remember, actually, I was thinking a few years ago, it was probably like 7, 8 years ago, they were doing a documentary to BBC Wales, which is better than BBC England. And it was called Young Welsh and Pretty Religious. Right? So basically they were following people from different spiritual paths to try and understand what our lifestyle is, I guess, what our philosophy is. So, like that. For me, one of those interesting parts of the whole, give me a sec. TV show was that they did I gotta make sure this is right, because I can't keep still. I always move around a lot when I'm talking. Thank you very much. Okay, right. I see those connections. So they would follow those of us from different faiths. So whoever gives a talk, they give it. So this is so those are from different paths, spiritual paths. And it was interesting. First we went to the Hare Krishna temple in Cardiff, and then we moved to the church, we went to the mosque, we went to the synagogue. But afterwards we all started, they filmed us talking amongst each other. And to be honest, I think a lot of the people who watch this television program also thought that I was a little bit disillusioned. I was thinking okay, where's the, it was all about, I'm a priest, but hey, I'm normal too. I watch television like this, and Do you know what I mean? Hey, the Muslim representative was a girl called Saha. So she was a very strict Muslim and very nice lady. And she would say, hey, I'm normal too. Trying to be like, hey, we're normal. Although what is normal? We're all different. That's the thing, you try, there's no use in getting equality by just trying to make everyone the same. Real equality is achieved by understanding that we're different, but celebrating each other's differences and actually loving each other because we're all actually spiritual sparks, we're all conscious living entities, so there's a difference between the body and the self. Anyway, so at the end of the program we all were discussing, and I was bringing forward that actually we should really, that there's a responsibility that genuine spiritual life has to society. So, people are crying out, we think, people are crying out to understand, who am I? Where do I come from? And spiritual life should be a science. It shouldn't just be, hey, I hope this is true, I cross my fingers, wait till I die, and then maybe you've picked the right one. It should be an actual science. And like with any science, you have your method, you have your theory, then your method, and you have your result. So this is what we're looking for. The soul is looking for happiness. We all want to experience pleasure. And in Sanskrit, it's called Nandamaya Bodhisat. The soul is always looking for pleasure. Do you mean a plant will naturally grow towards the sunlight? Generally, you don't give a lower pleasure up for a higher pleasure. If you give up, generally, even if it's something like, even a drug addict, generally will say, okay, I've got to give this up because in the long run, it'll benefit me to do this, etc. The living entity is always looking for happiness. So the meaning of life is to be happy. It's just understanding you won't get it in this material world. Like, in the material world you get something. There's some happiness to be found here. But it's not really what we want. I think Manabu was giving an example, just like if you're in the desert. Water, you're looking for water. If someone gives you a drop, water, but it doesn't quench your thirst. If anything, it's more frustrating. Because there is such a thing. So similarly, just like we were telling the story last week. I was in Birmingham last week. We've done a bit of travelling actually recently, which is quite normally in Cardiff. But in Birmingham, we were given the talk about, you have this, it's a story, but just to give you an idea. So this person, he's in this, he sees this wall, and he goes over this wall, and he falls into a forest. What am I doing here? He thinks, okay, well, this forest doesn't seem too bad so far. And then he sees a lion, a bear, a tiger, and a bear. Oh my. And they start chasing him. So he starts running. Going to the forest. They get, okay, and then, luck would have it, he falls down a well. As he's falling down, and luckily, chance may have it, there's a twig that's wedged on either side. So he holds onto that, and he thinks, whoo, I'm out of danger. I'm safe. Then he looks down, and he sees a big black snake, just sitting there, just waiting with its mouth open, just waiting to fall in. And licking his lips. And so he says, okay, well that's pretty precarious, but luckily I got this along. I can hold on to this, I'm okay. Then he thinks, okay, but then he feels this stinging. Getting stung by, what's that? He looks up, and it's some wasps. Let's go bees for the case of the story, because I think it matches up there. There's some bees, even though bees are quite friendly critters, so it's good. Anyway, they were stinging him, they must have been aggravated. He thinks, okay, and then he sees on one side is a white rat, and the other side a black rat. And they're gnawing at this branch. So he's like, okay, now I'm in trouble. You know, I got the lion, the tiger, and the bear at the top. I got the snake at the bottom. I got these bees that keep stinging me. And then there's a white rat and a black rat on either side of this log. And eventually they're gnawing away and I'm going to fall down. So this is very ridiculous. But then he realizes that there's a beehive that's being agitated and is dropping drops of honey. So drop, drop, drop. So he sticks out his tongue. He just lets the honey just drop on his tongue. And he thinks, hey, life isn't so bad. You know, and they describe this is like our situation in this material world. That, see my jump up and go. I promise you to jump and do everything else to do. So this is like it's just like the lion, the tiger, and bear, like the pushings of the body. I got to eat this, drink that, you know, got to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. The pushings of the body. The branch is the body, and the snake at the bottom is inevitable death. Just opening its mouth, waiting. And the black rat and the black rat and the white rat are both day and night. Just gnawing. You know, as I push my back downstairs, like with the rising and setting of the sun, is gradually taking away the life of every living entity. The bees are the daily people who might do our head in. I don't know if that's saying in Ireland, but annoy you in day-to-day life, and he's cutting off in the motorway, or he's, do you know what I mean? And the drop of honey is material happiness. So we're in a situation, we tolerate all of the living entity, we're in a precarious situation, materially speaking. But there's just a drop of honey, and we think, hey, life's not so bad. You know? There's this, I think this is a Sikh story, but I'll get back to remind me, the documentary, BBC. I'll get back to that story in a second. I go off on tangents. So, once was a sage. These two friends, and two friends were saying, hey, I know there's this holy person in town, there's a sadhu. We should go, he's giving a spiritual discourse. We should go listen to him speak. Yeah. Maybe, hey. Anyway, but their friend was like, oh, no, not another sadhu, not another so-called spiritualist. I mean, they're all the same. They sit down, they speak some spiritual knowledge, the same thing. Generally ask you for a donation or some money and just send you on your way. But his friend said, please, this one's different, you should come and see. So along, they go, listen to the person speak. And this sadhu, the saintly person, he does start speaking. But he notices that there's a bit of something in the mind of one of the friend is sort of holding them back from really, open-heartedly accepting this person's spiritual instructions. So he stops and he says to this person, okay, that's it. The guy's like, hey, you sure you don't want any money? He's like, no. The only thing I want is I have this needle. And I use this needle to, if my, cloth gets torn, I sew it up again, etc. You please take this needle and you give me this needle when we meet in our next lives. And I said, okay. And then it dawned on him, well, how am I going to do that? And I realized if I can't take this needle, then I can't take anything. Do you know what I mean? Has anyone, lived in the halls of residence at university? University, they, hands up. Anyone done that? Jack, you went to university? Even if you rent somewhere. No, like in Cardiff, we have one cafe that we have to rent it. So, we're not going to put all of our money into it. So certainly if you rented somewhere, say if you had some life savings like your parents gave you, and you were renting somewhere, and you thought, you know what, I'm going to kit this place out. I'm going to kit this place out, like a Hey Arnold, anyone Hey Arnold? There's so much, like, there's a clash of generations here. But anyways, I'm going to kit my place out. I'm going to make it look real nice. I'm going to do my savings that come from my family. I'm going to spend it on this place, make it real nice. Your family like, whoa, what are you doing? You're only here for a certain amount of time, but you're guaranteed you're out of here next year. You wouldn't put all your money into it, you wouldn't invest into it. So similarly, you're only in this body for a certain amount of time. So many years. Yeah. Max, what was it in the news? Ricky Hatton, big boxer, died at the age of something like 44. Who knows when you're going to leave this world? Which is why you have to spend some time, looking at the yoga scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. Say you live just enough. You look at yourself materially in terms of making your little set with your home and your job, etc. Just enough so you're comfortable, and then with the rest of balance of time, you focus on spiritual life. Yeah. So simply to invest everything to do with our lives just for this short amount of time doesn't make economic sense. So at least with some portion of our time we should engage in spiritual life. We should engage in understanding who we are. Why am I here? What's the point? We say, hands up. Maybe some of those of you from more Indian backgrounds, maybe you're a bit, maybe might know this a little bit more than those of us from a more Western background. But does anyone, hands up, who knows their great-grandfather's name? A few. Jack, do you know great-grandfather? So a few, right? But do you know your great-great-grandfather's name? Okay, start the thing. But basically, the point I'm getting at is, for most people, you can, multiply as much as you want. Your great-grandchildren aren't even going to know your name. So you think it's such a big deal. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Especially when you're younger, you're basically taught this is. I know kids who are like, oh my God, my GCSEs, what's going to happen once, it's like and on a sadder note, people commit suicide over this sort of stuff. They think it's such a big deal. But it's okay. That's modern society. You're literally ushered into this conveyor belt. Oh yeah, you got to go to school, you go to college, you go to uni, you got to get a job. It's like, whoa. Let me just take a second to just work out who I am. You're not taught who you are. You're taught maybe what you should be. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you should get this job, and do you know what I mean? If you get this much bank balance, be another cog in the machine, or as the great chariot, as Pink Floyd used to say, another brick in the wall. They're just trying, and this is what I was saying to these other men, other people on spiritual paths from the PPC. We've got responsibility. You have kids these days who are coming in, and previously, maybe a few decades ago, we used to think why am I here? Why am I I'm not feeling quite, I'm not happy, basically. You're not happy? You should go to the doctor. and then you should get some medication, and you should, I mean, that's there, just definitely. I mean, if I break my arm, I'm going to go to the doctor. Similarly, if I have some difficulty mentally, you should go to the doctor, it's okay. But to actually, but these days we're starting to see generations of people who are instead of looking to philosophy or religion or these sort of things to actually try and work out the what's the meaning of life, generally presented with this worldview that, hey, there's no soul, there's no supreme design to anything or purpose. It's all just chance, it's all just chaos. You're just a bunch of chemicals, and you should just, tweak the chemicals and try and get back on with life. But it's not true. I mean, that's a belief system. Like I was saying before, spiritual life should be a science. So it should be the science of understanding. At least we have if you for example, from my tradition, I looked at many traditions. I don't know if you noticed, I'm from a different cultural background than most of the people in this room. You know what I mean? I wasn't I'm going to pick a religion, I want to be a Hare Krishna, like a dartboard, or okay, it landed on Hinduism, I guess I better wear some clothes, and you know what I mean? We're just looking for the truth. Even no stone unturned. I went, in fact, I was looking for this so much. Even when you're little, have you ever seen someone who's like a toddler and has the first things as when a child starts to speak? The first things they say, apart from mama, dada, then as they start to go through the world, I remember when I was little, saying constantly, mama, what's this? Dada, what's that? Mama, why this? Dada, why that? What's this? What's that? Constantly asking questions. If you're in your heart asking the question, how do I really be happy? And why am I here? You just keep asking that question. You don't stop until you hear the answer. If someone says, I don't know, you don't just accept that, okay, yeah, fine. And if they say, well, no one knows, then you don't have to accept that. You keep asking until you find someone who does know. I mean, it's worth finding out the answers to the question. I remember traveling. I was in, again, I was from South Wales, Swansea. And I thought, I don't have any answer here. I went traveling, I went to New Zealand, eventually I went to Thailand. And remember, I was very lost. I remember being called across the street, similar situation to Storage. I was called across the street by some gentleman. Looking back, I think maybe Indian, or Indian origin. He had a turban. So, I was like, I don't know what spiritual path he was, but he called me over and he was like, come, sit, or whatever. And I was like, okay, so I think, okay, how much does this guy want, And he said, just sit down, and he asked me to meditate with him. I said, meditating? I don't meditate. I tried, maybe for 30 seconds here or there in the past, Tried to align my chakras. Everyone said, got chakras, you got Jackie, you got Reiki, you got... And this I'm getting attacked by this. I'm getting attacked by this flower here. So I remember meditating with him, and he was getting me to chant. At first he was getting me to chant Om. I can't even remember my own story. This is my life, and I can't even, So he was getting me. That was it. Om Namo Shiva. Right? Can you guys do that? Let's all together. 1, 2, 3. Om Namo Shiva. Those strict Vaishnavas, I'm getting somewhere. shoot me down just yet, you know. You know, what's the verse? Comedies, was it? Commas, they're hit to Gyan, Prabhati Tena Devataha. You know what I mean? So I know where I'm going, you know. Krishna says those who actually worship devatas, they're hit to Jnana, their intelligence is spoiled. But at the time, I was, this is okay. Om Namo Shiva. So what happened next? Now things are subjective. You know what I mean? You can't really hold much in this is my, this is I saw a vision and this is what happened. You know what I mean? You don't. Yeah. People say, God told me to kill these people and stuff. It's like, well, how do you know God told you to do that? God didn't tell you to do that. You know what I mean? So you don't, do you know what I mean? There's always a check and balance system. That's why I tell you, it's like a science. You always have your, there's a check and balance. So you have the books of knowledge, yoga texts of India, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedas. And then you have Guru Sadhu Sastra, right? Then you have the spiritual teachers. So you always balance everything up. So I'm saying that as like a disclaimer. Because this is just for the sake of the story. And you might be able to relate, coming from different backgrounds. But I started to see this person. I mean, there's other spiral stuff, started to see. I started to see my life, and this is in 2008. Right, so I started, and I wasn't living a spiritual lifestyle at all. I wasn't living a yoga lifestyle. And I started to see what looked like. So we were both looking at my life. Because at first he read my palm, right? I skipped a bit. So I don't just start meditating with random people on the street, just so they don't. But he read my palm, and he was telling me everything about me. He was telling me what my name was, what my parents' name was, he told me what age I lived to, which I'd like to see if that works. But so I was like, okay, well, there's this guy stolen my wallet or my passport or something. How does he know all this? So maybe, And so then I thought, okay, I'll see where you guys go. So I start to, anyways, I start to see what looks like my life ahead of me. And then, usual stuff. But then it gets very, very pure. This, and I was quite shocked. And so was this person. He seemed to be a spiritual, bona fide spiritual person. He was like, what? And he was like, this isn't you. And I said, yeah, that isn't me. We were looking at this meditation thing we were doing now. It looked like I'd be doing that a lot. And I said, look, that's not me. And he was perplexed as well. And he said, okay, well, you go away, you carry on chanting the mantra. Om Namo Shiva. He said, you chant it so many times, 32 or something like that. He said, he gave me a little pendant, had a picture of, or a print of Hanuman on it. I only had no idea it was Hanuman. Once I met the devotees later on, I understood, who's this? And they went, that's Hanuman. And I said, put it in a glass of water and chant this mantra so many times, take it out of the water, drink the water, and we'll give it a go. Yeah. I tried other sort of crazier methods, in order to try and understand who I am and who it is, and this is nothing compared to that, you know what I mean? So, I'm being attacked with flower again. So, like that. So I told my friends. I went back to where I was from, a little bit disillusioned. There's a saying in Bengal, wherever you go, you take a fortune with you. So I was, I was a bit sort of heartbroken, actually, that my life didn't change. People think, if I go traveling, then everything will change. You get social media, I get traveling bug. My life will change. Things will grow. And hey, I met a few people, but what generally happens, you keep doing the same thing that you were doing before. It's just with different people in different places. You know, once you reach a certain age, you've done a lot of what life has to offer. Sorry to be bearer of bad news, but you know what I mean? Like, okay, you've tried this, you tried that, and you did this, and then you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But the thing is, your vehicle for enjoyment, which is your body and your senses, it just gets weaker and weaker. So what satisfied you before doesn't really satisfy you as much now. Psychologically, it's a phenomena that as one gets older, you get more and more satisfied with a lower and lower degree of pleasure. You know, so like that. You know, when you're younger, hey, I want to be a rock star, or I want to be a, you know, prime minister. You know? Yeah. And then when you're older, you're just like, oh yeah, it's that new episode of the latest episode. You know, Coronation Street is on tonight, so Emmerdale or hey Ed. Hey. Like that. So I went traveling. So it's like that. So I go back and anyway. So cut a long story short, I know I've got times going on to 10:05. So anyway, so I started to think, well, coincidentally, this is the very point, because we were like the other evening I think Friday I was speaking to Ed, right? And Ed had a few nice stories. Everyone say hi, Ed.
Hi there.
Hare Krishna. So I carried on chanting something more Shiva mantra every day. I was so desperate. I was like, well, this is what I've got. And I was trying to prove to God my sincerity. I was going to church, since that was my background, I was Catholic. And my grandmother is from Ireland, she's Roman Catholic, so I'm a look at her. But I'm on the Catholic side of the Protestant side. And, like that. So, but I was so desperate that I just like, look, whatever. You know, I will do anything. I was trying to prove to God of my sincerity. So I carried on chanting this mantra. Anyway, eventually, I saw some devotees chanting through the street. I was going, you know, Hare Krishna, why? And then, you know, I got some people who I was next to were like, who are these guys, you know? But I thought, yeah, but they're sincere. At least they're authentic to who they are, you know, to who they want to be, and to, you know, they're not pretending to be like, oh yeah, you know, like when I was younger, when I was in primary school or secondary school, you know, there was this, you know, we had the big I'm going to go off a tangent. We had the big Pokemon craze. You know, it was huge when it first came. But then it was like a thing that sort of went away, and it's like, oh yeah, Pokemon isn't cool anymore. But there's one kid in our school who was like, no, I still love Pokemon. And he got bullied for it. You know? Now, looking back on that time, I think, yeah, that guy was the coolest kid in school, you know? Because he didn't care. You know? It was like, anyway, so I was like, no, these guys are, you know, they believe in themselves. You know? So I went to I went to a Tuesday outreach program. So the Tuesday program is specifically geared for sort of a Western audience, so to speak, or a new audience, someone who had no previous connection with the culture at all. And then they started to do this chanting, which I'd never experienced before, with this kirtan, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And it blew me away. Never experienced something like this, anything like this before in my life. It was almost shocking because it was how powerful it was, but afterwards there was anyway, after some time, then I thought, oh wow, I need to try and adopt this. I started reading the books that they gave me, and I'd never experienced philosophy like this at all. You know, this was just like so wonderful, so powerful, so extraordinary, and above all, it would really be what I was looking for. But I still had this problem. Do I chant Om Namo Shiva, or Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The devotees did this as well. I mean, my first experience was I came to the temple, and then they said, well, there's Rath Yatra in London. We have this big festival in London where all the devotees come together and they pull these big carts of Jagannath. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll come along. Yeah, come on, you can come on the minibus. Jump on the minibus. And this was my first experience of devotees chanting japa. You know, I sit down and I was like, hey, how are you doing? Devotees like, on his feet, Hare Krishna. I'm like, all right, yeah. Rude, you know, just but then they started coming out of chant, you know, Hare Krishna on beats. But anyway, so our temple president, Tarkanath, and his name is Tarkanath, and he started to hear that, hey, got this new boy, Tom, seems quite into it. It's my name, Tom. I thought, yeah, but the thing is, he's now, because I was conflicted. Do I chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or do I carry on chanting this Om Namo Shiva mantra? Tarkanath explained to me that Lord Shiva is known as the greatest of all of Krishna's devotees. In fact, Lord Shiva's expertise is to take those who are addicted to the activities of Tamagun, those who are at the very bottom of the barrel, you know? You know, like when you chuck out the dustbin, but then what's left over? You know? That was me. You know, that is to bring people to Krishna. Because when I was chanting Om Namo Shiva, before I came in contact with Krishna, I would chant Om Namo Shiva. I used to say, Shiva, you know, Om Namo Shiva, and I used to pray, Shiva, I don't know who you are. You know, I don't know. I heard of Shiva. You know, like you grow up, you see pictures and stuff and paintings. Shiva, I don't know who you are, but I'm looking for God. Now, if you are God, then please help me and show yourself to me. If you are not God, then please show me who is. And literally, as soon as I offered that prayer, within a few days, I was bumped into the Hare Krishnas, the devotees, who were chanting in the street. And I lived in Swansea, and I'd never seen them before. You know? But I thought still, you know, I don't just... So anyway, so Tarkanath, not only is Lord Shiva the greatest devotee of Krishna, but the Maha mantra contains all other mantras. So don't worry. You know, I understand you don't want to give up this chanting of Om Namo Shiva. It's brought you so far, and you feel a little bit indebted. But don't worry about it. You just need to chant the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, and that will all be taken care of. So I thought, okay, seems to make sense. But still, I thought, I don't want to. I felt like, I don't want to give it up. You know, it meant so much to me. It's taken me so far. So I thought, I know, I'll do an experiment. You know what an experiment? You do it now. I sat in my garden, and I thought, okay, I'm going to chant the Shiva mantra, and I'm going to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And just by experience, I'm going to see which one my heart gravitates to. So I went, oh, you can do it with me, so I'm not here. Om Namo Shiva, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Shiva, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So after doing that a few times, I didn't want to give up chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I just wanted to keep going. And I realized, yeah, he's right. Yeah. And then that's how so how did I get into that story originally? Shiva. So anyway, Hare Krishna. Anyway, that's for Ed, because I was speaking, because Ben says, because Ed had lots of nice stories, how he came to Dublin. You don't mind me speaking about it? Yeah, go. How he came to Dublin, how he ended up travelling here. And Ben's like, hey, Gopal's got a story. Tell him that story, how you came here, Gopal. And I'm like, okay, I guess I could try and, once upon a time ever. But we got to the exact point in the story, isn't it? Yeah. To where Ed's just walked in. So he's finished off the story now, so at least we've done that. So, but anyway, my point is that don't just take my word for it. People say, I meet people all the time when I'm giving out books. Hare Krishna, well, how do I know that's true? How do I, we're just laying on the table. I'm just, we should just, we're not asking you to just believe, believe, brother. And that's where I got to this story. But the materialistic worldview of understanding that, well, there is no soul, you are just a bunch of matter, that's a belief. Prove that to me. We can give you the method. At least we've got a method by which you can verify for yourself if there's a soul, if you're non-material by nature. But what is the method? Like I'll say, okay, prove to me that I'm just a product of chemicals. Prove it, please. Can you just put the chemical? If I give you all the chemicals that make a person, can you make me a person? Like you go into the shop, veganism is a huge business. If you can make vegan milk, actual milk, there's oat milk, almond milk, etc. If you can make dairy milk, not chocolate bar, the actual, the milk that is, you will be a billionaire. It should be easy to do, right? I mean, there's cows, they're just chemicals, right? They're producing it all the time. So surely can't you just get those chemicals and just, get your little test tube and create it again? It should be easy to do. But you can't create life just through matter. It's just a bit of a myth. Like that. So similarly, we are just, if one wants to realize life, and there's a method, and it's this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Something else went through my tongue. But, so anyone have any questions or thoughts now? You guys up?
Yes.
Real nice to meet you guys.
Sorry.
No, absolutely fine.
We'll come next Friday.
Yeah, come next Friday.
See if I can do the shot here.
Yeah, look after Jack. I've also meet a lot of people and they say, well, there's, like they say, like what we used to have, we tried for some time in our restaurant in Wales to have ahimsa, right? So it didn't work out, it was very, very expensive. But the point is that we had this pit, and this is when veganism was at its height. So this idea of, don't worry vegans, we got you. We can give you milk, blood-free milk. They went ballistic, like insane. And they were even like twittering, like, whatever it was, like, Hare Krishnas say there's why don't free milk or whatever, that's terrible. And the next tweet, hey, it's great news that in McDonald's there's a vegan option also there, you know what I mean? It was just like crazy. But the thing is, they always used, they were very, they were all, most of the ones I met, they were all atheists also. So I'm just saying this because I had so many battles with them, whether it was on the street or in the temple or whatever. But then they used to say, well, look, if, this goes to any atheist really. I'm just saying because I was speaking to one, and that was his, that's where he was coming from. He was coming from this idea of militant vegan. Most of the vegans are nice. There was some who just really hated us for some reason. And but if you believe that there is no God, then in a lot of ways you have if you don't believe that there's a design and there's a stop, then in one sense you have no right to talk about morality. Because all it is just a domino effect then. The Big Bang. So it's just one big chain reaction. Does that make sense? So like a clip of domino and they all just go off. Chain reaction. If there's no soul, then how is there free will? It's just chemicals interacting with chemicals, and it's just a big chain reaction. So, now I meet atheists, I'm like, why do you even bother? There's no point talking to you because you don't even, as far as you're concerned, if you convince me, it's just like two blobs of matter just interacting. We're just chain reactions. Just this conversation's predestined to happen. The conclusion's already there. Does that make sense? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no someone says, well, I believe in God. Well, why? How? You just think you do. And if you go into it deeply, they'll actually ultimately understand that and accept that. Yeah, and that's what they believe, like even in the scientists and the philosophers and materialistic ones, or as you call them, physicalism. Right? They're not called materialists, they're called physicalists. This is it. Go on, sir.
Yeah, so Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My question is that, many of my friends also argue that this is just a mythology, unlike, they don't understand that it's not a mythology but it's a philosophy. And many call this like Hinduism, like there's nothing called as that. When I try to explain to them that it is Sanatana Dharma, that is always eternal and it's always present and it's a philosophy more than a mythology. But people don't understand the difference between a mythology and a philosophy.
That's why it's even more like, well, first of all, the word myth just means story. Yeah. But it's even more than a philosophy. People might have so many different philosophies, and that's great. But that's why Prabhupada probably have that book, The Science of Self-Realization. Prabhupada, this is a science. Yeah. And the science, it's not fair, it's not science, it's religion. No, it is a science. I mean, it's not fair to say it isn't. That's my point. It's a philosophy in practice. Yeah? And what goes into it might be like Veda means knowledge. These are books on knowledge. These are books on science. I don't believe it's science. Well, here's the method. Like I said, people say to me, well, I don't know if it's true. Maybe it's just your belief. And you don't have a right to say it's just my belief. It's like I'm saying, well, here's a chocolate cake. It tastes like chocolate. Try some. Well, I don't think that is chocolate. I think it's strawberry. You know what I mean? Well, okay. You don't have to believe me. Just try some yourself. Well, no, I don't think I want to try it. Which is literally, it's just, it's not fair. And also, you're in no position to tell me that this isn't chocolate. I'm eating it, I'm tasting it. Like on any sort of basic level one of logic. Why should I just taste?
And Prabhuji, it's also like one more thing that I saw from one of the YouTube reels about Srila Prabhupada. Also, like one of the devotee was asking him that there's no way to make someone understand or prove that Narasimhadev actually existed. People are like, oh, half lion, half human being. How is that logically possible? So how will you make such people understand that this is all history and fact? It's not just that mythology, or it's not just a myth that we are talking about in the air.
Yeah, so that's why, with any branch of knowledge, because if I was trying to go to someone who, in their academic experience, had only, and gone up to mathematics to, 1 + 1 = 2, basic arithmetic. If I all of a sudden kicked the door down or went into went into year 1, and just said, hey, you guys need to know about algebra, that's what it's at, trigonometry, and just, it'd just be like, what are you talking about? You got to do your 1 + 1 = 2, then your 2 + 2, then your times tables, then your divisions. You have to, any form of knowledge, you have to build people like that. Do you know what I mean? So, if you had told me, do you know what I mean? You got to believe in the Shingadev, half man, half lion, you know what I mean? What are you on about, But now I deeply believe in Lord Shingadev. And to someone, if I just explained, hey, you should believe this, believe that, but that's taken me years of building up. First step is always the same. There's a difference between the body and the soul. And that's something even a child can understand. And then you
build it up. Then you build it up from there. You build it up from there, and people learn, and then eventually you can accept higher truths. You know what I mean? It's called esoteric knowledge. Stuff that, to understand, there's a load of stuff you have to understand first. And again, the point of it's not just theoretical understanding. You speak to high professors and those who know about, you know, what sort of goes into the name of Hinduism. Even they'll understand, oh yeah, I understand how you got to this idea of believing in Lord Vishnu. You know? But to someone who doesn't know anything, it just looks really alien. Like again, you told a child, you know, here's 1 + 1 = 2, and here's advanced algebra. Or even now they see, you know, like I see some of the architectural drawings of our temple, and I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah. Or when my car breaks down, I don't know anything about cars. I ring the AA or the RAC, or the guy comes along, he looks at the engine, he says, oh, there's a problem. I'm like, what? We're looking at the same thing, you know, but he sees something completely different because he's got knowledge and I don't. So knowledge changes the way that you see the world. Do you know what I mean? If I argue with him and say, no, I don't see that, you know what I mean? There's, and it takes time. People say, well, you know, look, if you want to understand, if you want to be like an atomic physicist and understand like an atom, that's the smallest thing in this, you know, well, you know, without getting too much into it, in the material world, you know. To do that, to even be allowed into the, you know, the room in the university where you have to get to perform the experiments, you have to go through years of education. No, not, you know, your primary school, secondary school, college, university, PhD. So saying, hey, Hare Krishna, prove to me that there's a God, or there's a soul. It's okay. You know, give me 10 years of your life. You would invest that to understand the smallest thing. So isn't it fair to say, well, at least invest some of that time to understand the consciousness and the, you know, the fabric of the, like the principle of reality that even created it? That's fair. I'm not being like, you know. Any thoughts?
Just like that example of the car, and I don't know anything about cars either.
Yeah.
And I started arguing with the mechanic, and no, do this. Just simply doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
No.
And that's, yeah. So, and that's how it's just basic experience, just going through this world. Yeah. But we're like taught to think, oh well, over here you have your science and your knowledge, and over here you have religion. Yeah. But that's not fair. I could say the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, and it simply would, and also wouldn't be fair to say like, oh, over here you have your, you know, here's the Hare Krishna movement, and over here you have everything else. You know, let's just be fair and just have an open mind. And like, it's not the Hare Krishna movement has the monopoly on love of God. Even. Yeah.
Because I like when I was trying to explain someone about the Narasimhadev and everything, right? I also found it like, okay, how should I explain to them?
Yeah, you can't do a diagram and okay, here's a lion and here's a man. You know? Put them together, you know, or AI. Can you make a lion and a man, please? But actually, that's also even art. You know, Premajanjali Tapati Galojanena Santasa Hidushu Ilogianti Shama Sundavachita Gunasrupa Govinda Madi Purujam Damaham Bajami. To really, even for us, to see Lord Nrsimhadev, to see Krishna, our eyes need more than me, Shastra Chakshush, and the salve of love, ultimately. So we also have to have the humility that because of, if I see the beautiful deities of Sri Panchatattva, you know, the pure devotee will see something that I don't see. There was a time when I was telling this story. This is one of my favourites. We have this video series called Following Srila Prabhupada, yeah, where devotees talk about their experiences of Srila Prabhupada. My favourite one that I can remember his devotee, and they're saying this was their first experience at the temple. And so again, it's like, kirtan going on, a bit wild, but Prabhupada was there in person. And the temple room was, maybe twice the length of this temple room. Prabhupada one end, the deities of Radha Krishna on the other end. And the kirtan going on, boom, 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 Krishna, Krishna. And this person's just, first of all, just observing everything. Like, okay, this is, this sights and smells, and this is very exotic. But still, it didn't have so much faith. But then you see Srila Prabhupada call someone over, and then, point. And you could hear Prabhupada actually. Prabhupada was basically saying that Krishna does not have any ankle bells on him. Why isn't Krishna wearing any ankle bells? So one thing was, he didn't understand how this person, this mid-70-year-old person, could see that far to the anklet of Krishna. But Prabhupada said Krishna doesn't have any ankle bells on. Why doesn't Krishna have any ankle bells on? And then Prabhupada started to cry. And the devotee telling the story said, at that moment I knew that Krishna was real. Otherwise, how could this person have so much love for him? So the reason I thought that story, there's another thing where Prabhupada, he's talking about deity worship, and he's saying you should worship the deity, you should practice Krishna consciousness, the spiritual practices of Krishna properly. Otherwise, the deity will just be a burden. Oh, why do I have to maintain this statue or whatever? You should see the. And then Krishna says, and eventually, and then the deity will, if you are advanced in Krishna consciousness, the deity will talk with you. And Prabhupada repeated himself, the deity will talk with you. And then again, and so Prabhupada just started to cry. So, Krishna says, as you surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. So similarly, the devotee, just like, so we also need to elevate ourselves in understanding Krishna and practicing Bhakti Yoga, so like that, and the best.
No, just a little bit more on if atheism is a belief. I've just going through a couple of things. Obviously, you see the whole solar system working, and this is all happening. It's all going on. You see it. Your whole digestive system is working. Your eyes are working. Your heart is beating. All of these things are going on. We've no idea how they're going. And then just in the next kind of step, I don't follow what the atheist argument is on all of this, but it seems to be when there's so much evidence of, as you're saying, the design that, but we have so much evidence of things happening in a very systematic way, for them to just come in, I'm like this. And usually when you scratch the surface, the atheist argument doesn't hold. It's just a lazy kind of mood, just say, I just want to enjoy myself in the world. I don't want to be disturbed. That's more honest. But the other argument from the atheist, whatever. I think most people are just they're just kind of bewildered. They're just not wanting to think about it. Just want to leave it as it is, and things are fine. And I'm going to work tomorrow, and I'm going to have my tea, and the next day I'm going to, they're just going on with their life. I know. So I like when you're talking about this, just being a belief.
Yeah, that's what actually most people are not atheists or theists. They're what social scientists call apatheists. They're like, hey, maybe God's real, maybe he's not, but I'll just have another beer and watch the television or whatever, But the other side is that because everyone, and Anandamali Boy is that, everyone does want to be happy. You know what I mean? It's like it's a sad thing. So we're not trying to like, okay, we need to convince you that there's a God, so you're on the. We're just, this is, and also it's just like I said, the thing about the cake, like it's just like look, this is what I'm experiencing. I want you to experience this also. And like I said, I didn't just, I was just looking for the truth, personally. I didn't want to become become a Hindu or a Hare Krishna or this or that. I was just, and I say to people on the street, if someone's like a Christian or any, I say, if you show me something higher, I will put my books down now and I will follow you. Yeah? I'm not, if you show me something higher, I will follow you. Honestly, no one showed me anything higher. Please. Yeah, someone came in here now and said, oh, actually, this is, I'd be like, yeah, great. Yeah.
Why do you think some people like yourself there are seeking and wanting and so on, and a lot of people aren't? Or how does that work? How come there is people actually, because you obviously went and really, really wanted from that story you explained. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be in general that, well, I don't know, I'm just generalizing that people don't seem to want that, or what's going on there?
I think, well, again, what did George Harrison say? Everyone's looking for Krishna, but they just don't know it. Yeah. It's in that 1977, they're quoting Prabhupada. And they were saying to Prabhupada, well, say if we ruled the world. Because in 1977, the Krishna conscious movement, it looked like, we're going to take over the world within a few years. Yeah. What would happen to all the atheists? Who didn't believe in Krishna? Would we be like, hey, you're an atheist, okay. Next, He said, no, it'd be through just education. We would just educate everyone about it. And, and again, in the science of self-realization, Prabhupada said, look, everyone just wants to be happy. You want to be happy, this is the goal of it. We're just happy because you don't know how to be happy. So, people search it. Now we have to, as best as we can, we have to try and, speak or teach people the philosophy of what Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita, but in a way that as much as possible, avoids a lot of their sort of the hurdles of what culture or whatever that, you get people who go to war and they come and they got what's called post-traumatic stress. Or, I met someone once and he couldn't go, he wanted to come to the temple, but he said, if I go to any building, I need to know where all the exits are and all the entrances are first. Because he'd been in a war and he had this experience of him and his gun. He called his gun even this name, I can't remember, Lucy, me and Lucy, the way he was speaking about it's like another person. Yeah? And so people are like that when you say, do you believe in God? God! You know what I mean? Because they've been so, their previous conceptions of God have been spoiled, whether it's due to, Christianity, Islam, previous experiences with the Hare Krishna movement, or, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Then, so it's as much as possible, okay, that's why I like to start with a verbal clean slate, Krishna, okay, let's not talk about the soul. Atma sound good, Yeah. So there's that element of it, as best as we can, if a doctor would have to administer medicine, okay, let's sugarcoat this as much as we can, here comes the train, like that. And that's not belittling people in any way, or but people are intelligent. Questions is a kind of intelligence. And that's part of the reason why they're so disillusioned with a lot of spiritual paths, because people are smart, and they do have questions. So, and if we're trained to answer them. So I think a lot of more people are looking than there is, but again, what's that, famous interviewer, Vic Prabhupada was on a radio show or something, and they're like, well, why do you, the reporter, she was a lady, right? She was saying, well, why do you shave your head? I was like, why do you shave your legs? So why is the death rate so high in India? Death rate's the same everywhere, 100%. Eventually they just got so frustrated with Prabhupada's just answers. They said, well, What would happen if everyone became a Hare Krishna, if everyone just joined the movement? Prabhupada said, don't worry about that, because there will always be fools like you who will not accept it. So I think that, I don't know, in answer to your question, I'm just riffing, but I think there would be some, and that's the other thing is also there's not everyone is looking for Krishna. Well, they are looking for Krishna, just know, but not everyone is looking for, some people aren't looking for it. And those people, just leave them. I don't know if Vaisheshika Guru says, there's the tree, the fruit is ripening in the sun, feel it. If it's not ripe yet, you just leave it. Be kept on the sun a little bit more. But those, Masa Husahasras who Kastyat though Krishna says, many, many people, one may actually be looking for spiritual life. Now, those people, hardly one knows me in truth. So, our job is to look for the needle in the haystack. And when we do meet that person, then as much as possible we have to deliver the goods. One last point, is that okay? Just because you make me think. Maripur was actually much more my senior. in terms of spiritual advancement and spiritual knowledge and everything that he's achieved in his devotional life. So I'm a little awkward speaking in front of him. But if you knew me a bit better, you'd definitely believe it. So, but I don't know. Once we had one senior teacher coming through, and now we had one devotee, and he was my friend. He still is my friend. His name's Mantri Raj, and he's a really nice devotee. Now devotees were being harsh on him. You had other devotees because we were trying to teach Krishna consciousness to it into an environment where the population didn't really know anything about Krishna, didn't know anything about Bhagavad Gita. They had no reference points at all. They had no. So, and he just wanted to tell them about Krishna. I've seen, there was an outreach. You won't mind me saying it. I hope not. We had two young guests there who were, just from Cardiff people. They're both sitting there, and Manchu was just speaking to them after a program. Yeah, I'm going to speaking to them. And I was chatting to them. I turned over. One of them was completely asleep, and the other one was going. Yeah. I mean, I've seen him. He used to speak to this way. I used to be out. There was one time I was out distributing books. Right. I look up the road, and this is true. I look up the road. He's speaking to someone. And turn back, carry on trying to stop people, etc. Go back, half hour later, still speaking. Okay. Carry on, half hour later, still speaking. Half hour later, there's an ambulance, the guy's on the floor, and he's like, so similar thing, these two boys, so one of them asleep, and then the other one starts falling asleep. I said, Mantri, what were you thinking? Surely once they start to fall asleep, you just, hold your horses, And he said, well, I started speaking, but I realized one of them was asleep. And I realized the other one was falling asleep. And then, but I thought, well, I can't stop now. What do? I can't just stop. So I just carried on. So, but devotees used to go in his case, like, man, you've got to stop. Just, every time someone comes, you don't have to just keep giving them a Bhagavatam class. Speak about other things. Yeah, I always think the same thing. But then one time, we had one guru come through, and Mantri was saying, like, look, I meet people, and I get told all the time that I give people Bhagavatam classes. Stop giving them a Bhagavatam class. Every time, so the thing is, like, if someone comes in, you're having, like, with them, you don't have to give them a Srimad Yomnimo, Bhagavad. So how do I stop? This teacher said, well, in my experience, traveling all over the world, especially in Western places, everyone's too much like, let's just, like it's almost like, don't tell them about Krishna, But he's like, his experience, but no one tells him, so sometimes it's good to give the person a Bhagavad class, sometimes, you have to have, because people are looking, those who are looking for Krishna are so rare, when they do come across your path, you've got to give them the goods. Yeah? So you said, Mantri Raj, I give you full permission to give everyone you meet a Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, like you said, man, we're not things like some are looking, some aren't. We have to be as expert as possible. But when you do finally meet that person, that's wow. This is a rare. This is about, tell them about Krishna. Don't miss on those people because they are rare. Manasa Husa Astrastu Kashtati. Just all of you sitting in this room. Yeah. Not only are you rare to be looking for spiritual life, but to come in contact with Krishna, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and even more so to be in front of the lotus feet of Shishi Panchatattva, then, yeah, probably the Tibetan King Roland. So, Guru, would you have to add anything before you go?
Jai! Haribo!
Our wonderful devotee Uncle Prabhu now he's going to ask some questions to the audience, and whoever answers his question will get a free Bhagavad Gita.
There you go! Okay, so whoever answers this question gets a free Bhagavad Gita. I want the guys from Wales to be. I'll be trying as well.
How many of you are new or here for the first time? You're welcome. I want to thank the devotees who have come from Wales. And there are, I think, five of you. Five, isn't it? Five? Yeah. Thank you for coming and helping us yesterday with the book distribution in Henry Street.
That was great.
I don't know, probably Manu Prabhu will tell us how much he collected later. Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
I can remember the number of books.
I think
It was
81,
86
86 books.
transcendental books distributed yesterday.
And all the money will be going towards the fund for the new building.
Yes.
Okay?
Viva!
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming and helping us distributing the books.
Okay.
Okay, I have two questions to ask, but two questions. But I had a phone call from one devotee, and she said she's prepared to give a third Bhagavad Gita. Would you ask 3 questions?
I do.
I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll start with the first question. Okay. How many of you attend Mangal Arati? Hands up. Okay. I think there are a lot of people who don't attend Mangal Arati, which is very important.
Yeah, points for honesty.
What? There's 2 important things about attending Mangal Arati. Does anybody know the answer? The 2 answers. What does it do to the individual person or whatever? What's important about attending Mangal Arati? Yes?
Please, Krishna.
Sorry. Do I either know the 2 questions or I don't know the 2 questions?
Well, I know them. Oh, I
You
think
know
I
them?
know them.
You think you know them? All right. Any other hands up? No, only one. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So would one of them be it pleases Krishna?
Sorry.
It pleases Krishna to do the Mangalarti.
It's not the answer I'm looking for. Go ahead. What's the second one?
Oh, I was going to say it purifies your intellect.
All right. It's not the answer I'm looking for. Does anybody know the answer?
Surely he has a point for that, isn't it? You're in the lead so far.
Yes.
I don't think I know both, but the first one, it reminds you of your position as a servant of Krishna.
Sorry.
It reminds you of your position as a servant of Krishna.
Yeah, not quite. And second one? Second answer? Yes?
I can I think I know that Mangala Arati is very important is because early in the morning as soon as you wake up, you remember the Lordship and you do seva to your Guru. So you just meditate, and meditation is very important to purify one's mind. And the second reason Mangala Arati is very important is because that's the first Arati that you do at the prime hour of the day when when the energies are very high and you concentrate your mind to purify it.
Well, what you're saying would be partly correct, But it's not the answer I'm looking for.
You got to give us a clue, Prabhu. You got to give us a clue.
Well, I can't give you a clue.
Prabhu, there is one more answer.
Yes.
From what I have heard,
Yes.
it's said keep Mangalati is done in the morning. So I guess it sets the tone for the day. It keeps you bit sattvic, I would say.
No, it's not the answer I'm looking for.
Boys, get on
Anybody-
ChatGPT quickly.
It's not my card. I don't need this one is very one more. Anybody?
Okay, go on.
So
Wait, Prema wants one more go.
yes.
Go on, get-
Try.
Does it take away sinful reactions? Is that one of them?
Okay, what's the second?
Go on,
Cultivates attraction.
The-
Cultivates attraction for the deity for
Repeat that
Krishna.
again.
Cultivates attraction for the deity for Krishna.
You're partly right, and I think you're going to earn the thing. But the correct answer is one.
Prabhu, there is one more
You-
there is one more
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
I want to give it a try, Prabhuji. First thing, the Brahma Muhurat, where our consciousness is very elevated. So that's the best time to connect with the divinity, and that's why we wake up and do Mangalarati.
And it's not partly right, but not.
We each get half a bag of Gita.
Next, I'm going to give the correct answer. Number one, you're practicing detachment. What does it mean? It makes you wake up from out of your bed and detach yourself from sleeping and bring you to perform on the other detachment. Number two, it increases your knowledge when you come. We had that in a lecture about a week ago, and some of my good friends didn't remember the two. You didn't remember this, you see. So that's important. Detachment.
Singled her out there.
Detachment and increases your knowledge. These are two major things. Okay? Now,
So no one wins a bag of Gita.
now forget it. I don't know whether to give it to you or you.
He's got plenty of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, we'll let you have
They
it.
can fight.
One more.
Next question. Question 2. You got
Give us an easy one then, please.
Krishna avatar and Vishnu avatar. What is the difference between each of the avatars? Krishna avatar, you must listen very carefully to the question. Krishna avatar and Vishnu avatar. Unless you know the correct answer, put your hands up, others don't.
Yeah, right, I think I know.
In other words, why am I calling it Krishna avatar and why am I calling it Vishnu avatar? You know the answer?
Well, not 100%
Take each
sure,
one and explain.
Well, I'm just like Krishna is actually not an avatar; he's avatari. So he's the source of all avatars, and Vishnu and all the other extensions of Krishna can be called avatars because they're.
Yeah. Well, the answer is wrong. Does anybody know the answer? If you don't know the answer, then you don't know it, and I'll explain.
So please explain.
Okay? In Krishna avatar, the 8th position is held by Balaram. You must remember that. Very important. In Vishnu avatar, the 8th position is held by Krishna. Who knew that?
Now we know.
That is the answer. Okay? So because Balaram has to come in some shape, only when it's Krishna avatar, then Balaram comes in the 8th position. If it's Vishnu avatar, then Krishna comes and occupies the 8th position. Now.
But this answer was more correct.
Yeah.
He's the boss. The boss is spoken.
You're the judge.
Oh yeah. Make sure you Make sure you read this
this now.
Yeah.
As I said to you this morning, a devotee rang me and she was going to contribute by the way, I buy them myself and I give that every week after the class. It's a donation for myself. Now the third question, the person rang me, and she wanted me, she was going to give Bhagavad Gita to me, and would you mind asking another question? I said, yes, I will do that. Here's the third question now. I'm just looking to see which one I should say. You mentioned 1 + 1 = 2 in your lecture.
Okay, yeah, right, I can do that.
Those who know the answer to that question, please don't put your hands up. Okay? Now I'm going to ask you a
You
question.
can put your hands up then, Chris.
Okay? What is 1 + 1 = 2? Put your hand up, put your hand up, put your hand up.
Put your hands up.
What is 1 + 1 = 2?
Oh, you've really stumped them now, Prabhu. 1 + 1.
Yes.
Spiritual life, it's 1 + 1 = 1.
1 + 1 = 21?
1.
Sorry, Mataji, you got that one wrong.
Absolutely wrong.
That's not the answer.
Anybody else? Sorry, what's that?
No.
No, anybody else want to answer this question?
Yes.
What is 1 + 1? No, the answer 1 + 1 is not 2. Okay. Anybody else can come forward and tell me what 1 + 1 equals?
Depending on what you want to do.
Which content you want to ask?
I'm not going to give that, but that's okay.
I think he's asking the
Like
kids to
what you
answer.
want to hear, it's depend up to you.
Yeah.
You should get the right
No.
Bravo, Haribol.
Prabhuji.
I think he wants the
1
kids to
+
answer.
1.
Yeah.
No, wait.
I think he wants the
Yeah,
kids
go
to
ahead,
answer.
please.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think Mataji has said the right answer, or maybe the
Yeah,
answer
that
you were
one.
looking for.
Yeah, Yes.
Prabhuji, did you hear Mataji's answer?
What she said?
She said 1 + 1 = 1 in spiritual life.
No. It's not the answer I'm looking for. That may be correct in a different context, but no. So what is 1 + 1 = 2? You'll be surprised when you hear the answer. Yes.
The answer is always Krishna.
Haribol.
He's correct.
You got there in the end, and we kept trying.
1 + 1 could be 3, could be 4, could be 5, could be 6, but it depends on Krishna. The answer is, it depends on Krishna.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I already
Give it to a friend.
find someone's signature.
Do you want to go to someone else?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, is there someone who has come for the first time and interested in a copy of Gita? Like, I already have one, so I can give it to you. You are? Okay.
Hold on, you want me to ask another question? I can ask another question tonight.
I go Mataji, but those person get this Gita, she has to promise in front. Panchatattva that she's gonna read every day that Gita.
Yes.
Are you promising? Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody, so the next part of the program is the arti. So everyone can stand up.
You will keep it here. And where should I keep the tripod? But they will keep the tripod there. Here, facing there. Just right.
एक बंदा का बोल कर एक लड़का है उसको लड़की चाहिए था तो मिल गया ठीक है
अभी मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ वीडियो कॉल करता हूँ शुरू हो रहा था
इसको ऐसे को दिया आधा घंटा पहले Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiva
Jaya Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadiso Rabhata Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Janita Gora Prema Hey, Sindaki Grande Swami Marjir Baba Gita Ishkon Kaunda Charya Supapa Gita Jaya Vishupara Paramahamsa Parvata Charya Satra Satya Shishmari Siva Santa Saraswati Goswami Marjir Baba Gita Jai Krishna Chaitanya Pavityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. You know that. Jai.
All glories to Asamba devotee. Asamba devotee.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pavityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopan Sham Kanwar Kangir Gavram Ki Jai. Shri Nati Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mai Ki Jai. Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shambhavita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Janita Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glory to Shabadabadi. Oh, glory to Sambhadi. Oh, glory to Sambhadi. Oh, glory to Shri Guru Shri Guru Glory to Sambhadi.
Hare Krishna. So we can sit for Narasimha Aarti. We all can sit, we can fit in, we can come in. Those who are standing, you are also welcome inside. Please come in. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare Hare. So, on behalf of ISKCON Dublin, we would like to welcome you all for our weekly Sunday Love Feast program. Sunday Love Feast program, give! We would like to specially welcome and thanks our devotees all the way from Wales. Wales Yatra ki! Book distribution Mahayagya ki! Harinam Sankirtan ki! So all those devotees did wonderful service of book distribution and Harinam in this Dublin city. So they are here from last almost 1 week. So we would like to specially thank all of them. And also we would like to thank our today's sponsor for the prasad. I would like to request you all to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to seek blessings from Shri Panchatattva and Radha Govind Dev Ji for their family and for their ancestors as well, because these days it's Pitru Paksh. So we would like to request you all to chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So also we would like to thank Grishma Mataji and all the volunteers who have helped today for making today's prasad, which we will be going to have. I have one more important announcement. Next week, which is 21st of September, we will not be having Sunday program here. We are having big program in Stillorgan. I am just sharing the details now in the group. I didn't share yet, so that I will announce and I will share together. So we just shared one poster of the program. You can have a look there. If you are not in the WhatsApp group, you can join our WhatsApp group through QR code. So next week we have Krishna Club Kids annual program. Haribo! Do you all know what's Krishna Club? Krishna Club is a group of children who are studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic scriptures, reciting their shlokas, learning about Krishna and so many more things. So they will be giving so many performances and showing their talents. So we would like to invite you all to encourage all of them at Still Organ. It's not that far. You can take bus from city center or from your nearby place. It's in, I'll read the exact address. It's in St. Lawrence Parish Hall, Lower Kilmacood, Still Organ, Dublin. So it's from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. followed by Prasad. So we will be having Prasad for all of the devotees who will be coming there. So you all are welcome. Please come there and encourage all those young children from the age of 5 till 15. They are mostly in that age group. So how many of us already know few shlokas from Bhagavad Gita? Maybe very few of us, right? But they know many verses from Bhagavad Gita with their translation. And many more. So you all are invited there. Please come there. Now we would move towards next part of the program, which is Narsimha prayer and Prasad in the restaurant. We need 3-4 volunteers, not for distributing Prasad, but for winding up after Prasad. Is anyone here who would like to volunteer for that service? Yes. Please stay back after Prasad. We need just your 30 minutes and then we can do everything. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hari Hari. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
जय विघ्नार्दन सुदे भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। प्रभु श्री प्रभुपाद की
So we will have some more kirtan. Maybe few people can go ahead and start prasad, and then rather than standing in long queue, we can go in some batches. We can start from there, and then after 10-15 minutes, everyone can go. The restaurant. Yeah.
Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Raja Ram, Raja Ram, Raja Ram, Jaya Raja Ram. Raja Ram, Raja Ram, Raja Ram, Jaya Raja Ram. Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jaya Sitaram. Janaki Vallabha Raja Ram, Janaki Vallabha Raja Ram. Janaki Vallabha Raja Ram, Janaki Vallabha Raja Ram. Dasharatha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. Bola बरसाने वाली की जय जय जय. बोला बरसाने वाली की जय जय जय. बोला बरसाने वाली की जय जय जय. राधा रानी की जय, महारानी की जय. राधा रानी की जय, महारानी की जय. राधा रानी की जय, महारानी की जय. बोला बरसाने वाली की जय जय जय. बोला बरसाने वाली की जय जय जय. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Sankirtan ki jai ho. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare louder louder please Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, louder please, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh! Haribo! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita, Jaya हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की सांगत भक्त वृंद की गाय गाँव प्रेमानंद
His Grace माधव हरि प्रभु जी की जय। हमारे मृदंग प्ले की हवा निकल गई
और नहीं तो क्या इतना बजा के देखो कोई पता चले हवा की क्या है।
मैं 24 का बजाता सुनना में आप 24 आवर्स की समय देखना। चलो कोई बात नहीं।